And we're here for the first session of African World Studies 101 with Professor Gamal Kenyatta. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for the comments, and we're going to get right into it. But first, I would like to offer a caveat, and that caveat or warning is this. A lot of what many of you will hear, depending on your or where you are in your development and understanding of African World Studies, is going to sound like hearing for the first time that there is no Santa Claus. And if you grew up believing in Santa Claus, you will understand. I myself grew up with it, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I believed it so much that I thought I saw the trail of the sleigh the next morning when I got up. And one day I'm at school, and one of my friends and I are talking, and I'm talking about what I got for Christmas, what Santa Claus bought me. And one of my friends says, "You still believe in Santa Claus?" And I said, "Of course I do." And he said, "There ain't no Santa Claus, man. That's your mother and your father and your grandparents and so forth." And I was like, I never heard of that before. I didn't believe it. I was shocked and hurt. I went home, asked my grandmother about it, and she said, "Well, I guess we're going to have to tell him the truth. Yeah, there is no Santa Claus. There's no such thing as Santa Claus." And from that day forward, no one ever could convince me that there's a Santa Claus, and no one could convince you, if you believed that growing up, that there was no Santa Claus. But what it also taught me was that my grandparents, my parents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, the people at church, the people at school, the people in the neighborhood, the people in the city, the people in the state, the people on television, the people all over the world had lied to me and millions of other children, so that we were devastated when we heard it. So a lot of what you're going to hear in here is going to sound like hearing that there is no Santa Claus. And so with that, let's get into it. I'm going to turn my computer screen around so that I can, I'm going to turn my phone around so that you can see my computer screen. I posted a question the other day and I asked the question, what is the number one problem facing African people? And several of you gave responses in the comments. Some said we need more education, we need more unity, we don't have enough trust, we need more jobs, more money, more laws, and so forth. And those answers were good answers. The problem is they didn't answer the question. They are actually symptoms of the problem. And so when we look at a problem, we must ask, what is the problem and what are the symptoms of the problem? Because then we'll know the difference between a symptom and a problem. Because if you address a symptom of a problem, you don't actually solve that problem. You only create more symptoms. So understanding the problem is the first step in solving a problem, because if you don't know what the problem is, you don't know how to fully address the problem. So when it comes to African and Black people, and I'm going to talk about this topic of African and Black people so that we're all on the same page about that. So what is the number one problem facing Black people and African people? The number one problem, believe it or not, is racism, white supremacy. Now, that's going to sound simple to some of you, like racism, white supremacy. The problem, however, with that is most people actually don't know what racism is. I wrote an entire book about this, The White People Show, how to understand racism and still be wrong about it. Many people, instead of saying racism, will say other words that do not mean racism. So we need to look at what is racism and what is not racism. So some of the words that people use, for example, is prejudice instead of racism. they will say this prejudice thing that happened. Now, racism is not prejudice. Prejudice is not racism. Racism, as you can see, is an unfavorable opinion or feeling formed beforehand or without knowledge, thought, or reason to support the opinion or feeling. Now, there is racial prejudice, but it is not racism itself. The other word that many people use is discrimination when they mean racism. But racism, discrimination is simply the ability to distinguish between two or more options that are available. So there is racial discrimination, but discrimination in and of itself is not racism. Many people will say racism is hate. Racism is not hate. Hatred is a byproduct of racism, but it is not racism. Just an intense, passionate feeling of dislike for someone is what hatred is. So now, what is racism? Simply stated, racism is the belief or doctrine that one or one's group is superior to others based solely on skin color. We'll repeat that. The doctrine or belief that one or one's group is superior to, that means that they think that they're better than others because of their skin color. We can simplify it even more to say that the doctrine that racism is the doctrine or belief held by white-skinned people, whether consciously or unconsciously, that they and their group are superior to others who are not white-skinned. Now, I want you to ponder this question, this definition over the next day or so. Look it up in the dictionary. See what you find. Because when you hear most people talking about racism, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're talking about something else and getting in arguments over the wrong things. You want to embed this definition into your mind so that you will not face that. So I'm going to... Now, I have an assignment for you, and you can find that assignment on my website, ProfessorKenyatta.com, under the Resources tab on the menu. The assignment is to read this article that I have posted there, written by Senegalese scholar Cheikh Anta Diop, which deals with the origins of humanity and where the races come from. It's a very, very important article. It's an anthropological piece that many of you will find very difficult to read because of the terminology that is used in there. But what I have provided for you is a vocabulary list of some of the more difficult words. So as you read it, use that vocabulary list, and it will help you understand that article. And it's only about 4 pages, but I need you to read at least the first 3 to 4. It's only about 5, I think it's about 5 pages. I only need you to read at least the first 3 pages, and you need to read it a couple of times. And we will discuss that and talk about it because it's going to deal with some of the other issues that we're going to be dealing with soon. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.